Tonight on First at 9 this Friday the 17th of May 2024. The controversial acquittal. 4 suspects accused of shooting 3 to death during the 2013 Maithripalapala protests acquitted by the Gampaha High Court. Bearing fruit. IMF recommends outcomes achieved by Sri Lanka from the economic reform program. Highlights need to complete steps to gain financing assurances. Towards the future. Economic transformation bill to be presented to Parliament this Wednesday. Pre-monsoonal. Heavy rainfall expected during the next few days. Early landslide warnings issued to several districts.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Singh joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Now on your top story tonight, the 4 accused of fatally shooting 3 persons and injuring 45 others during a protest demanding clean drinking water in Maithripalapala in 2013 have been acquitted by the Gampaha High Court's trial at bar. Delivering the verdict in the case, the court ordered the acquittal and release of 4 Sri Lankan army personnel, including a major general and 3 soldiers. The suspects were acquitted due to the lack of evidence to prove that the shooting was carried out by them.
On 1st of August 2013, army personnel opened fire at residents in Valaria, protesting against a factory allegedly polluting the region's groundwater. The shooting led to the deaths of 3 people, including 2 school children, and also caused injuries to around 50 others. Following the shooting, the Attorney General filed 94 indictments against 4 army personnel involved in the incident, including then Brigadier Arunadeshapriya Gunawardena, Sergeant Dingiri Arunage Sirisena, Corporal G.M. Tilkaratna, and Corporal Lalit Gray, before the Gampaha High Court, charging them with the crimes of murder, attempted murder, causing grievous hurt and minor injuries. 11 years after the incident, the verdict of the case was delivered today by the Gampaha High Court's trial at bar, comprising High Court judges Nimal Ranavira, Sant Mapa Bandara and Rashmi Singapuli. While presenting their opinions prior to the delivery of the verdict, the 3-member judge bench stated that 3,000 members participated in the protest in question on the 1st of August 2013, while 289 army personnel were deployed to disperse them. The judge bench claimed that a gazette was issued by the then president declaring a state of emergency within the administrative region of Gampaha. According to the bench, the available evidence suggested that the army was deployed to the factory premises to maintain peace and security upon a request made by senior DIG Anurasena Nayaka. Drawing on the fact that the first defendant in the case, Brigadier Aruna Gunawardena, was deployed to the scene by the former commander of the Security Forces Headquarters West, Major General Sumit Manavaduge, the bench said that it is clear that there is no evidence to prove that the army entered the scene forcefully as described in the complaint. The judge bench said the statement of the officer in charge of the Valaria police station noted that the attempts were made by the first defendant to disperse the protesters with the use of batons, tear gas and water cannons. However, the bench said live shots were fired when stones were pelted at him while the brigadier was walking back. The judge bench also noted that the discovery of burnt tires near a filling station and a bank, the usage of bottles filled with fuel and soil by the protesters proved that the protesters have caused violence, and they added that shots were fired after their violent acts. The bench opined that the damage caused would have been far worse had force not been used by the army. Further, they said the prosecution has failed to prove that the bullets fired at the 3 victims were fired by the accused service weapon. The bench said 12 rounds of ammunition were released by the 3 firearms used by the 3 defendants in the case. However, no reports were presented to show that the murders were caused by the bullets so released. The judge bench added that 21 bullets have been fired from 56 firearms. However, no action has been taken in that regard to hold such shooters responsible. Therefore, the judge bench said the benefit of the doubt is awarded to the defense in this matter, upholding a fundamental tenet of criminal law. The bench also revealed that in addition to officers in military uniforms, there were people clad in black carrying firearms at the protest site. Accordingly, the judges opined that those armed gunmen could have committed the murder. In the end, the judges said there is insufficient evidence that the first defendant ordered the shooting, and added that the defendants cannot be charged under any legal basis due to the contradictory nature of the evidence presented. The judge bench, under the presumption that they had to deliver the verdict based on the evidence presented, acquitted all 3 accused.
Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go. ජීවිතේ හැම තැනකදීම ස්මාර්ට් වෙන්න. පොලිය විතරක් ගෙවාගෙන යන්න. CDB Smart Draft.
Now, the director of the International Monetary Fund's Communications Department, Julie Kozak, says Sri Lanka's new macroeconomic policies are starting to bear results. The IMF official highlighted the rapid decline in inflation, robust accumulation of reserves, and steady economic growth as commendable outcomes of the island nation's effort to reform its economy. Kozak also added that in order to complete the IMF's upcoming second economic review, Sri Lanka must continue to implement the agreed upon programs as well as complete its financing assurance review.
On March 21st of this year, the IMF staff and the Sri Lankan authorities reached a staff-level agreement for the second review of the program. Completion of the review by the executive board of the IMF requires two things. First is implementation by the authorities of the agreed prior actions, and the second is completion of the financing assurances review. And that would confirm multilateral partners' financing contributions, and the financing review will also assess adequate progress with debt restructuring. With respect to Sri Lanka's economic performance, macroeconomic policies in Sri Lanka are starting to bear fruit. Commendable outcomes include a rapid decline in inflation, robust reserve accumulation, and initial signs of economic growth, while also preserving stability in the financial system. Overall, program performance has been strong. The next steps with respect to the debt restructuring is to conclude negotiations with external private creditors and to implement the agreements in principle with Sri Lanka's official creditors. The domestic debt operations are largely completed. The initial debt restructuring negotiations with external bondholders ended in mid-April without an agreement, and discussions are continuing with a view to reaching agreement in principle. And on the official creditor side, these agreements in principle still need to be finalized.
Now, the Economic Transformation Bill and the Public Financial Management Bill will be presented to Parliament on Wednesday. According to the Secretary-General of Parliament, Kushani Rohanadira, the Economic Transformation Bill and the Public Financial Management Bill are slated to be presented to Parliament on that day for the first reading. On the 15th of May, the Cabinet approved the proposal presented by President Ranil Wickremesinghe in his capacity as Minister of Finance to gazette the Economic Transformation Bill and present it to Parliament for approval. The provisions of the Economic Transformation Bill aims to establish vital institutions such as the Economic Commission Sri Lanka, Zones of Investment, International Trade Finance Office, Sri Lanka Economics and International Trade Institute, and the National Productivity Commission. According to the Cabinet spokesperson, Dr. Bandulu Gunawardena, the bill contains structural, quantitative and qualitative changes to drive economic growth and transformation. Now, the Criminal Investigation Department recorded a statement from former State Minister Derana on the status of her British citizenship. In the meantime, another complaint was filed with the CID against the General Secretary of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, Ranjit Madhumbandara, for his alleged complicity in nominating Derana to Parliament via the party's national list. The complainant alleged that the SJB General Secretary relied upon falsified documents to secure the former minister's seat in Parliament. On the 8th of May, the Supreme Court issued a writ of quo warranto against former State Minister Derana Gamage, prompting her to prove the legal authority upon which she sat in the country's top legislative body. The order was issued in view of the fact that the former State Minister was unable to prove before court that she was a Sri Lankan citizen, as at the time she swore in as a Member of Parliament through the national list of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya. In its latest developments, former Minister Derana Gamage was summoned today to the Criminal Investigation Department, where she provided a nearly 4.5-hour-long statement on the status of her British citizenship. In the meantime, another complaint was filed before the Criminal Investigation Department against General Secretary of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, Ranjit Madhumbandara, over his alleged complicity in nominating Derana to Parliament via the SJB's national list.
During the
2020 general election, Derana Gamage was nominated to Parliament via the national list of the Samag Jana Balawege using forged documents. By doing so, Ranjit Madduma Bandara has deceived the Election Commission. I hope that legal action will be taken against Ranjit Madduma Bandara.
Now in your political news, independent MP Dilan Pereira insists that President Ranil Wickremesinghe will hold the general election before the presidential election. Meanwhile, State Minister Chamara Sampath Dasanayake claims that they are ready to support President Ranil Wickremesinghe if he decides to contest in the presidential election on the SLPP ticket. Now let's take a look at some other thoughts shared in the political arena today.
We need to pioneer smart education, smart agriculture and the smart fishing industry. They will create so many slogans. They will call for the defeat of Sajith Premadas's foreign, elitist, English language-centric, IT and computer science-based education system in the country. They might even entice teachers and students. The hypocrisy of this entire ordeal is that the man who puts those words together sends his son to a private international school. That is ridiculous. It is time to abandon such hypocritical practices.
උගාදෙන හිතේ තියා ඉන්නේ පොහොට්ටුව ඉවරයි පොහොට්ටුවට ඔලුස්සන්න බෑ කියලා අභූත චෝදනා එල්ල කරමින් වැටෙන්නම ගහන්න තමයි උත්සාහ කරේ ඒනොට අපි වැටුනේ නැහැ අපි හිටියට වැඩිය හොඳට නැගිටලා යනවා ආණ්ඩුව සටනේ ඇත්තම නැහැ ඇඩසුත් නැහැ.
The government is nowhere to be found. I'm willing to match any government vigor and claim that the parliamentary election will be held first. Since President Ranil Wickremesinghe knows that he will lose the national election, he wants to create a hung parliament and make pacts ensuring his presidential candidacy and victory in the presidential election. I can assure you that Ranil Wickremesinghe will first hold a general election.
දැන් ජනතාව ඉස්සරහට යන්න බය අය එක එක නිවුස් හදනවා ගොසිප් හදනවා ජනතාවට ඒවෙන් කලබල වෙන්න එපා ජනාධිපතිවරණයේදී ජාතික ජනබලවේගයේ මාලිමා අපේක්ෂකයා වන අනුර කුමාර සානායක ජයග්‍රහණය කරනවා ඒ නිසා තමයි මේ කලබලේ
මොන මැතිවරණයක් ආවත් ඉතින් ඡන්දදායකයා ඡන්ද දෙනවා ඡන්ද ඉල්ලන්නේ අය අපිට තියෙන්නේ බොහෝ දුරට රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයා ආවොත් ඉල්ලුවොත් අපි උදව් කරනවා රට ඇතුලේ තියෙන රික්තකයා.
The current political vacuum in this country can only be filled by a properly functioning Sri Lanka Freedom Party. As long as that party is not turned into a political pawn, we can embark on that journey.
Now, leader of the Maubima Janata Party, Derana Jayawira, says that he plans to honour the country's war veterans in a manner that reflects the gravity of the sacrifices they made during the war. He made this statement while attending the Maubime Apivenuin Api event held at the Shangri-La in Colombo in commemoration of the nation's war veterans.
Maubime Apivenuin Api, an event to felicitate war veterans, was held at Shangri-La, Colombo under the patronage of the Maubima Janata Party's leader Derana Jayawira. The event was also graced by the former commander of the Navy, Admiral of the Fleet, Wasantha Karannagoda.
Today we must fulfill our responsibilities. The first of those responsibilities is to restore the pride of our war veterans. They are the reason we are enjoying our right to life.
You showed that nothing is impossible when Sri Lankans put aside their differences and unite. We do not want to tarnish your pride by bringing you onto political stages. In future, we intend to reciprocate the sacrifices you made for this country. We have a plan in place and we will discuss that with you in the near future.
And now taking you to some weather updates, the Met Department revealed that pre-monsoonal conditions over the island and its surrounding are expected to enhance Sri Lanka's inclement weather patterns over the next few days. Meanwhile, taking the present showery weather conditions into consideration, the National Building Research Organisation issued yellow-level early landslide warnings to areas spanning across several districts in the island, including Kandy, Kegol and Kurunegala.
Several areas of the island continue to experience heavy rainfall through the course of the day today. The highest rainfall was reported from Aralaganvilla Polonnaruwa, recording 137.6 millimeters. Mounds of earth collapsed into the Allavalawaya road, prompting authorities to close the road from 6 p.m. yesterday to 6 a.m. today. A massive stream of water flowing down from the Ravana Falls to the Allavalawaya road was recorded on a mobile phone. Considering the perilous conditions along the Allavalawaya road, the authorities recommended the Valawaya road running through Ambadandegama as an alternative. However, the alternative route recommended as such was also riddled with a series of landslides. Accordingly, the road was closed for traffic while the Bandarwara unit of the Road Development Authority took measures to clear the road starting from 6 a.m. today. In the meantime, the Allavalawaya road, which was closed for traffic due to massive earth slips, was cleared and opened for traffic this morning. Considering the prevailing severe weather patterns, the Disaster Management Centre stated that the road could be closed for traffic at any time. Meanwhile, the District Secretary in the evening today said the Allavalawaya road will be closed for traffic once again from 8 p.m. today up until 6 a.m. tomorrow. The water level of Ravana Falls rose rapidly amid the torrential downpours. In the meantime, two 15-year-old schoolgirls and an 18-year-old individual visiting Bomburuala Falls were left stranded and unable to return to their parents as the water levels rose rapidly around them. The group informed the police of their situation by dialing the police hotline. Thereafter, the two schoolgirls and the youth were rescued and returned to their parents. Due to the prevailing weather conditions, 8 sluice gates of the Rajangane Reservoir have been opened, with 9,000 cubic feet of water flowing to the Kalaoya Reservoir per second. The sluice gates of the Angumo Reservoir are also open at the moment by 6 feet to accommodate the rising water levels. The reservoir currently spills 3,700 cubic feet of water per second to the Kalaoya Reservoir.
Showery and windy conditions are expected to enhance during the next few days from today evening due to pre-monsoonal conditions over the island and surrounding sea areas. Showers or thundershowers will occur at times in western, Sabaragamuwa, northwestern and northern provinces and also in the Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Mathura districts. Also, showers or thundershowers will occur at several places elsewhere over the island after 12 noon. Also, heavy showers above 100 mm are likely at some places in western Sabaragamuwa and northwestern provinces and also in the Galle and Mathura districts. Sometimes strong winds about 30 to 40 km per hour can be expected at times over the island. Therefore, actually, general public are kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder shower times.
Meanwhile, the National Building Research Organisation issued yellow-level early landslide warnings to several areas in the Badulla, Kaluthura, Kandy, Kegalle, Kurunegala, Mathale, Nuwara and Ratnapura districts. The landslide warnings are in effect up until 4 p.m. tomorrow. In the meantime, taking the prevailing weather patterns into consideration, the Met Department issued advisories for heavy rainfall effective over the sea areas extending from Kalpiti to Pothuwil via Colombo, Galle and Hambantota. Accordingly, sea areas are expected to be rough at times with strong gusty winds reaching up to 60 to 70 km per hour expected from the regions. The Met Department said showers or thunder showers are likely in these sea areas and heavy showers are expected at some places. In the advisory, which is in effect until 11:30 am tomorrow, the Met Department went on to urge the naval and fishing communities to be attentive in this regard and take adequate precautionary measures.
Welcome back. Now, global spiritual leader and global ambassador for peace, Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar, will be arriving in Sri Lanka tomorrow for a 3-day visit upon an invitation by Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena. This is Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar's 6th visit to the country. During this visit, Gurudev will address a public meeting at an event titled Ekamuttuwa, an evening of music, meditation and wisdom in Colombo on the 19th of May. At the event, 12 skill development centers of the art of living across the country will be inaugurated. These centers aim to empower over 5,000 youth with the skills to make them job ready. At the same event, Gurudev will also virtually inaugurate the Art of Living Center in Vattala. Gurudev will grace Kumbhabhishekam event in Sita Amman Temple in Nuwara and bless the community. He He will travel to Trincomalee at the invitation of the Governor of the Eastern Province, where community programs have been organised in Gurudev's honour. Now, the airport unit of the Criminal Investigation Department have arrested 2 persons along with more than 1,000 different types of mobile phones and 200 pen drives that were illegally brought to Sri Lanka from Dubai. The 24 and 59-year-old suspects were to be handed over to the airport customs officials for further investigation. With that, let's take a look at other local news in brief.
The Customs Narcotic Control Division confiscated a parcel containing more than 3 kilograms of crystal methamphetamine valued at nearly 100 million rupees, which was transported through airmail from Guatemala to Katunayaka. The stock of drugs were addressed to a 25-year-old resident of Polonnaruwa. The package was opened and inspected in front of the individual when he arrived at the warehouse complex to claim the package. The individual was arrested thereafter. The strike action launched by the non-academic staff of state universities island-wide continued for the 16th day today. The strike was launched over several demands, including a salary hike. Meanwhile, a trade union action launched by government executive officers demanding solutions to several concerns continued for the 3rd day. The police special task force arrested a person with more than 3,000 cannabis plants in possession. The plants were cultivated in a 20-perch land in Thanamalwila. The special task force discovered the cultivation during a raid conducted using T-drone technology. Kalutara Narcotics Unit arrested a 29-year-old man nicknamed Petiruka, who has been involved in a drug trafficking in Kalutara for a long time. He was found in possession of narcotic pills and Kerala cannabis.
Welcome back. Now in your business news, the Colombo Stock Exchange closed in green today with market turnover crossing 1.2 billion rupees. The benchmark all-share price index settled at 12,319.7 points after gaining 0.49%, while the S&P Sri Lanka 20 index gained 0.1% to close at 3,637.56 points. During the week, the ASPI recorded a loss of 1.6%, while the S&P Sri Lanka 20 fell by 2.5%. Meanwhile, the average daily turnover during the week was recorded at 2.2 billion rupees. High net worth and institutional investor participation was noted in Amana Bank, Haley's Fabric and DFCC Bank, while mixed interest was observed in Janashakti Insurance. Foreign participation in the market remained at subdued levels, with foreign investors closing as net sellers, offloading shares worth 49 million rupees. Meanwhile, local investors ended the day as net buyers purchasing shares worth 1 billion rupees. Welcome back, and now let's take a look at our corporate news segment for the evening.
The Arabian Travel Market 2024, a global event for the travel and tourism sector, was held from the 6th to the 9th of May in Dubai. During the event, the Sri Lankan Pavilion was organized by the Consulate General of Sri Lanka in Dubai in collaboration with the Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau. Under the theme Empowering Innovation, Transforming Travel Through Entrepreneurship, the annual trade show featured 2,300 exhibitors from 165 countries. The Ceylon Motor Traders Association organized an event titled Mobility and Economic Growth, bringing together key stakeholders and thought leaders to delve into crucial discussions shaping Sri Lanka's economic landscape. The event was graced by the Deputy Head of Mission at the Japanese Embassy in Sri Lanka, Katsuki Kotaro. Meanwhile, the event also featured a panel discussion on Japan's perspective on Sri Lanka's fiscal measures impacting industries and upcoming initiatives for improved mobility and transportation. In other corporate news, Ceylon Grain Elevators plc announced that all resolutions indicated in the notice of its annual general meeting, which was held yesterday, were passed by the company's board. As such, a special resolution to delete the existing Article number 107, subsection 1 of the Articles of Association of the company and substitute a separate article was passed. Accordingly, the separate article states that any director may appoint an alternate director by notice in writing left at the office and shall be required to comply with a set of requirements, including a condition that alternate directors shall only be appointed in exceptional circumstances and for a maximum period of 1 year from the date of appointment.
That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.